Today can be the turning point in your life by making a simple decision.
Fundamental questions of navigation. Where am I? Where am I going? And how do I get there from here?
I invite the leaders of our planet to ask themselves these three questions before they make any crucial decisions.
But if you don't make decisions, you're going to stay right where you are.
We are all map makers.
We are in a time of transition.
If we're going to change, we have to change the direction that we're going.
Our planet needs leaders who know where they want to go.
When we change the direction we're going, then we want to make sure we're going in the right direction.
Leaders who can see the big picture.
Because if we're not, we're going to either go backwards or we're going to stay where we are.
Recognizing the psychological and the spiritual shifts and changes that need to be made, often from the inside to the outside.
To be able to shape your future, you have to be willing and able to change your paradigm.
Complex journeys require navigation. The path to the truth is one such journey. This is your GPS. Hairstyling services provided by J.D. Edwards Salon and Spa, Palmdale Shopping Plaza, Ladera Street.
Accessories provided by Chevette Williamson Jewelry. Standout jewelry for standout women. Good. I want to make sure that our Facebook audience can hear. Okay, so before we dive into introducing our guests for today, I'm going to go ahead and share the telephone contacts for the show so that you can participate if you so desire. The numbers to call are 3260271, 3260271, 3260272, 3260272, and the WhatsApp line for text messages or phone calls, 801-0271, 801-0271. We're streaming live on the official Global 99.5 FM Facebook page, as well as the official Michelle Malcolm Facebook page. And you can also find us on Cable Bahamas, channel 974. So now that you know how to reach us, I'm going to go ahead and bring my guests into the studio. And I have to tell you, these ladies are going to be helping us to maneuver through a very sobering topic today. This is a topic that requires attention, and as hard as it may be to talk about, we're going to do our best today to bring a very necessary spotlight on a very ugly problem that has persisted in our country for far too long. And I think one of the reasons why it has been allowed to persist for so long is because we in the Bahamas are experts at sweeping things under the rug and pretending that problems don't exist. We act as if we don't look at it, if we don't acknowledge it for what it is, then it really doesn't exist. But truth be told, the problem does exist and continues to exist, even if we choose not to acknowledge it. And the real challenge is that it comes out in ways that are less than desirable for the country. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the problem of child abuse. And child abuse can take many forms. It could be verbal abuse. You're constantly beating your child down with your words. It could be physical abuse, where you're beating your child down with your fists or with some object. It could be sexual abuse. And I don't think I have to explain what sexual abuse is, eh? We all know exactly what we're talking about. Incest, rape, sodomizing boys. We know what sexual abuse is. Inappropriate touching, because some of us don't think anything wrong with that. That is also sexual abuse, which leaves many, many scars for years in the future. So you're talking mental, you're talking physical, you're talking sexual, and abuse can also be neglect, where you just all and out don't take care of your children. Let them roam about the streets, let them grow wild like wildflowers while you're off doing your own thing. Neglect. Where children are going hungry, don't know where the next meal is coming from. Neglect. Where you don't take the time to nurture your child and show them love. Neglect. All of this is a problem in this Bahamas, people. Whether you choose to ignore that child that comes to you and says, someone in my home or some trusted pastor or some teacher is touching me inappropriately, or whatever it is that you choose to ignore, do not believe that because you are ignoring it, that it is gone away. Now, these ladies who are here today are all experts in their respective fields as it relates to this general topic of child abuse. And they are all going to help us to break this thing down and help us to understand what we can do as individuals to try to eradicate this problem. So I'm going to let these ladies introduce themselves, tell you their background, and then we're going to dive into the conversation. First up, she's no stranger to GPS. Shervonne Hollis is back, and Shervonne often helps me to put these shows together in terms of identifying guests, and she's very, very passionate about what we're going to be talking about. So Shervonne, go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience once again, please.
A very pleasant good afternoon. Shervonne Hollis here. I am the founder of Save Our Children Alliance. I am also a partner with Coalition of Child Advocates, and I am a certified child sexual prevention trainer under the Darkness to Light program.
All right, Shervonne, thank you for being here once again, and welcome back to the show. Next to introduce herself is Mrs. Patrice Hanna Carey, and you can go ahead and tell our audience a little bit about yourself, please.
Good afternoon, Michelle. Good afternoon to the great Commonwealth. My name is Mrs. Patrice Hanna Carey. I am the founder of Hanna Carey Cares Foundation. It's an inner city and urban centered foundation that is based around assisting families, healthcare, mental care, physical care. So it's the overall man and wellness of the individual. Excuse me. I especially stand as an advocate, a child advocate in our nation. Of course, in relation to the child abuse and other things that we have, that we, of course, will be discussing, that children face so often in our community. So thank you for having me, Michelle. It's a privilege to be here.
All right. Thank you so much for agreeing to be here to shed some light on this problem. Last but by no means least, we have Hadassah Johnson. Hadassah, you can go ahead and introduce yourself to the public, please.
Shalom to everyone. Good afternoon. I am Hadassah Johnson. I am a mother, first and foremost. I have 2 children. I am a volunteer with Rise Bahamas. I am also a member of Women United, and I'm a partner with COPA. I am a former educator, and I'm a child advocate at heart because I am a survivor of child abuse, sexual abuse. So I'm happy to be here.
Well, thank you so much for being here and being willing to share your story with us. It's always more powerful when you can actually put a face to the problem and talk to someone who's actually, I don't like to say survivor, I like to say overcomer. You're more than a survivor, you're an overcomer. So welcome to you all, ladies. And let's dive right into this. This is going to be a heavy topic today. And I want you all to like and share the show if you haven't already done so. And let everybody know that this is a must-hear conversation. It's not going to be comfortable. It's not going to be pleasant. But it is what it is. I often say that you cannot fix what you do not acknowledge. So the first step in helping to solve this problem is to acknowledge it. We're going to do both today. We're going to acknowledge the problem, and we're going to talk about possible solutions and what you and I can do to try to stomp this scourge out of our midst. So, Shervonne, let's start with you. How big of a problem is this?
Well, Michelle, I recently, first of all, thank you so much for lending your platform to such a worthy cause. And individuals like yourself, I do applaud you for taking the time out to have us on your platform again. I recently wrote an article, and it would have stated the topic was, if we don't save the children, or if we don't help the children, then who will? I am willing to say that we are in a crisis in the Bahamas when it comes to child protection. And my reasoning is basically what you explain it to be. The response that we for, when a child is exploited, when a child is abused, when a child is neglected, is not the right response. And time again, we seems to be more reactive as opposed to proactive. And when I say proactive, in stamping out or preventing the problem from happening. Now, we cannot save every child from a situation of abuse or any of the description of what child abuse or child protection comes under. However, there is a lot of information out there. A lot of country is doing what they can do to prevent child abuse. And, you would have said it all. You would have described it all. Abuse come in many forms. And we have to learn exactly what it is. I feel that, like you said, a lot of times we tend not to acknowledge the hard truth. And we tend to say, well, we'll pray about it. Well, this is a problem. No disrespect to any Christian person or Bible believing person. But you have to pray, but you have to do the work as well. Prayer alone is not going to stop a predator in the church from harming a child. Prayer alone is not going to stop a father from molesting his child. Prayer alone will not stop a neighbor, a family member from molesting an innocent child. And I am very passionate about this. I pray that the program that I facilitate becomes a mandatory program in the Bahamas, which is Darkness to Light Child Sexual Abuse Prevention, which is more or less a focus of my organization. But it is a grave problem. If it's not a crisis, I don't know what we can call it in the Bahamas. We have to be more proactive. There are a lot of organization activists, advocates out there and they've done what they could do. However, we need to evolve in our approach in the Bahamas. I find many times we do a good talking. If talking could have solved this problem or prevent this from happening, then we wouldn't be on this platform today. However, we have seen a spike within the recent months. Even in 2023, we have seen sexual abuse cases brought before the courts, and the court is doing what is within their arms to do. However, we have to put the onus on each adult, from parents to caregivers to guardians, you name it. We all have to collectively fight this problem, and this will not stop overnight. This is not an overnight solution, but it is a collective solution, and it's a mindset change. Again, I would say very quickly, from me living abroad in Bermuda, the population, there's 20% of adults that have been trained as certified or stewards of children with the Child Sexual Prevention Program. It has now become mandatory. So anyone who is involved, anyone who is a steward, a carer of children, teachers, you name it, an adult, a responsible adult, has to take stewards of children training in Bermuda. And I have seen the difference, and I want the same thing for my country.
What are some of the signs that we are missing? But before we go there, is a part of our problem that you mentioned there are a lot of organizations who are doing things. Is it part of our problem that there's no cohesiveness among these organizations and groupings? Is the approach too disjointed? And is that why we're not seeing more success with this?
If I can say before my partners would respond, yes, I have been on the outskirts. I've been watching. I have met a lot of the grassroots founders who have been doing a good job. But I'm gonna be honest. I'm not gonna cut anything here to save feelings. Yes, it seemingly is disjointed, where, rather than coming together as a collective, that's why we formed Coalition of Child Advocates, of which we have several grassroots and newly formed organizations that are a part of it, that are child focused as well. But too many times person seems to be looking for the spotlight, and that is not what it should be about. Our mission is not about any organization, any individual. It's about the children, the welfare of the children in the country, the protection of all children, be it migrant children, be it Bahamian children. No matter the socioeconomic status, no matter the race, the ethnic background, or the sexual preference, we should be liaising, we should be speaking up about, we should be ensuring that all children is protected. Because why? Children have the rights to be protected. Children have rights just like adults. So that's my input on that.
Now, Patrice, I see where you had started to speak, but your microphone was muted. So go ahead and unmute your mic, and let's hear what you have to say on this.
Okay, thank you so much. Again, to you, Michelle, and to my colleagues. Listen, where I see it, especially as it relates to when we speak to a disjointiveness of groups, advocates, whomever it is, they are lacking a bit of much of what our children has shown us that they have. And this is why children are able to advance in their agendas, whether it's positive, negative, whatever, childlike behavior, so much. So where we lack is in what I term the 3 C's. So that's collaboration, communication, and cooperation. And children have that. And so that is what we need to get back to in order to really run a functional society as it relates to child care, child protection, child rights, etc.
Okay. Let's talk then about what we should be doing to try to bring this cohesiveness. I know that the program that Shervonne mentioned is a very good one of the first steps that needs to be taken. But how do we get organizations to come to the table come as one, with one agenda, like you said, not putting the egos aside and understanding who the real focus should be on. How do we make this happen?
There's a saying that says, he that feels it knows it.
Mm-hmm.
And he, meaning male or female, that know it will feel it. And so the only way to make it happen is everyone have to become aware. Shervonne mentioned training. There are practical methods there. I mean, you cannot speak to any issue unless you've had interaction with it, you've had encounter, you know what you're speaking about. Mm. And a lot of the groups themselves have to get out here. They have to get on the ground, as it were, to be able to identify with the issues in order to know what is it that we now need to do cohesively as a collective body to make it happen. Mm-hmm. When we think about youths in general, okay, I'll give you all an example of just something that is happening currently in the nation that we are somehow out of tune with. The other day I'm driving and my kids and I are together, and I decide, and this is a main thoroughfare, I decide to just stop into a store, and I felt like getting me something to drink. And so I went into the store itself, and when I went into the store to get me a juice, and when I went into the store, there's a bar, a liquor store that is identifiably close to the store. And as I'm coming out of the store, I noticed this very young person walking into the bar. Mm-hmm. So, and I have a point here. And so I walk into this bar, and I look at the young lady. It was a young lady, and she is fully dressed down, Ranger clothing, Defense Force Ranger, boots and all. And she's leaning over the counter and trying to look all adult. And I said, young lady, you don't look old enough to be in a bar. Why are you in this bar, and what are you hoping to purchase? So she kept her head down, I guess, to remit the essence of being adult. And that just reaffirmed me. And I said, you know what? You are not allowed to even be in this bar. And I'm going to ask you to leave. And I'm also going to sequester these individuals and tell them don't dare to sell you anything inside here. And so it was a Chinese bar, because it was a Chinese store I went in. Mm-hmm. And the young lady, who was not Chinese, she was the servant. She said, I looked at her and I said, she looked too young to serve. I said, yes, you could see it. And then the young lady says, oh, I can't even buy juice out here. I said, Mom, the store next door sells juice. You have no reason to be in a bar to buy juice. And I pray God that for whatever reason that you are here, whatever's disturbing you, I began to do some sort of consult, because I do counseling. Right. And then she told me, I ain't trying to get pregnant. I didn't even mention anything about pregnancy. She then, because I would not leave until she left, she went outside. And then this is not to bring up any nationality, but she went outside. She spoke Creole to this young gentleman, and he was a senior guy, older than her, and he walked back in, and he didn't catch on at all of what she was trying to say, because she was trying to do it in code and tell him this female up in here won't leave her, let her buy what she wants. But I noticed, because he came in, he said, "What you want? What you want, drink, ma? What you want? What you want?" So she told him Guinness. And I said, sir, you're not buying anything for that young lady. You're not going to purchase anything. And I cut a whole movie, Michelle. I ain't going to lie. My kids were listening to me out there. They were parked in the vehicle. I cut a whole movie. And then he said, he was so bold. He said, give me Guinness here. And so I had to pull him right. I said, do you all know that I stand on a body of child advocacy, and I can do much more than what I'm doing now? I carry on so bad, right? So when he heard that, he said, she walked out shortly after. And then he walked out. Why didn't she walk out? I walk out, still making noise. And I went to the Chinese person. And then I went to the, not knowing if they were the owner, I went to the Chinese person. I went also to the other young lady, and I said, don't let this ever happen. In fact, we're going to be coming around with notifications of the legal status of youths that are allowed. What is the age of consent to drink alcoholic beverage or to purchase alcohol in this nation? And I walked out, and my kids them heard me fussing. The gentleman, he walked out after. See, I ain't buying it. This not for her. This not for her. The barber sent her for it, because it was a barber, I guess, next door, whatever. I said, sir, you, the barber, all y'all could be arrested because there's no way a child comes in to buy anything. I brought that story up to tell you we are so disconnected, not only as advocates, but as a nation. We have let slip into our society a form of compromise as it relates to our youths. Children go to the bar to buy stuff, so they buying it for their parents, whether or not, or some adults. They go buy the drinks, the smokes, children watching things they're not supposed to be watching, listening things they're not supposed to be listening to. And in the not supposed to terminology, meaning we have to then see them as who they are. Their mind are very, meanwhile, sponges. But that's just it, sponges. And we have to be careful what we input into our children.
Yes.
And because that's what we're going to get back in return. So there's so much at the very root and core that the advocate has to now identify. And it doesn't have to be where we're all in the same room.
Right.
But we all have to be on the same page. We have to be identifying the issues and going after them, Michelle.
We have to take a break, but let me just say this before we go into the break. The Minister of National Security was on the news the other day talking about how there's a problem now with primary school girls approaching boys about sex. Primary school girls. Primary school girls. Now, my question is, how did they at that age get exposed to sex to know to approach a boy to have sex? What's going on in these homes? We have to take a break. Let's talk about it on the other side. We'll be back after these words from our sponsors.
Understanding your microbiome, also known as your gut ecosystem, can change everything you thought you knew about nutrition, digestion, immunity, and metabolism. Keeping your gut ecosystem healthy and balanced is essential. Ultimate Microbiome by Longevity was specifically formulated to optimize this ecosystem. It provides the advanced support your gut needs through prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic supplementation. Our unique blend of probiotics includes Lactobacillus and Plantarum, healthy bacteria that can help prevent harmful bacteria from taking over your gut. Increasing your gut's population of beneficial bacteria creates a more balanced gut microbiome, which has been shown to aid in weight loss, skin health, sleep, mood, and may even help with seasonal allergies. Ultimate Microbiome also promotes the production of postbiotics. Postbiotics are key to help regulate your gastrointestinal health. To enhance digestion, Digizyme Multi-Enzyme Complex, a blend of 5 specific enzymes, has been added to Ultimate Microbiome. It can help break down food so your body can better absorb nutrients. Plus, we've added our proprietary I-26 Hyperimmune Egg Powder to aid in the elimination of disease-causing gut bacteria and help your body balance its immune response. Ultimate Microbiome, the scientific, proprietary, and holistic approach to gut health that helps optimize your body's entire gut ecosystem. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
Welcome to Sunshine Auto, the hardest place on the planet for a rims, tints, and tires.
We are your auto superstore for rims, Lexani, Azaras, Trueform, Western, Lux, Fuel, Trackline, Tough, Rough Racing, Velocity, Mud, All-Terrain, and low-profile tires, cars, homes, and commercial window tinting. At Sunshine Auto, we put God first and customer is king.
Less is love.
To stay healthy, it's crucial to make sure you get the nutrition you need every day. But it's difficult to get all your recommended vitamins and minerals from food alone. Even in the United States, 94% of people are deficient in at least one nutrient. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 by Longevity is a simple, convenient, and affordable way to help your body get the essential nutrients it needs. It's an advanced plant-driven multivitamin mineral complex that contains certified organic whole foods, trace minerals, and antioxidants. BTT 2.0 supports your body's natural defense system with a proprietary blend of energy-boosting and body-loving nutrients, plus prebiotics, probiotics, amino acids, and enzymes that support digestion. With an unusually high ORAC score of 8,000, you get even more antioxidants to help combat free radicals that can cause damage to your cells. But to get the most benefit and value from any multivitamin, your body must be able to break down the nutrients so you can fully absorb them. Otherwise, they'll just pass through your system without doing any good. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 was specially formulated with synergizing cofactors to ensure you get maximum nutrient absorption. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 is the easiest way to give your body the balance and complete daily vitamin mineral supplement it needs for optimal support of your overall health. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
This portion of GPS is brought to you by Tiki Bikini Hut at Junkanoo Beach. Great food, cool tropical drinks, and family fun in the sun.
Welcome back to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. Michelle Malcolm in your company. We are streaming live on the official Facebook pages of Global 99.5 FM and Michelle Malcolm. You can also call in at 326-0271, 326-0271, 326-0272, 326-0272, or 801-0271, 801-0271, which is our WhatsApp line, to which you can call or send a text. And we are also streaming on YouTube, and you can watch us on Cable Bahamas channel 974. All right, let me bring my guests back up on the screen. I want to let Hadassah Johnson chime in because she's not able to stay with us for the entire show. And I definitely want us to hear from her because she's actually an overcomer, someone who has faced what we're talking about on the show today and is here to tell her story. But more so, I believe, I listen to a person like Joyce Meyer. I don't know how many of you are familiar with her. She's a televangelist that comes on many of the popular, Christian channels. And Joyce Meyer, for many years, was sexually abused by her own father for many, many years. And later on, went on to become a believer in Christ and eventually took care of the very man that molested her for years as a child and led him to Christ. And when I hear her story, I'm like, boy, it really takes the love of God for you to be able to do that. Because I would imagine, Hadassah, and you can tell us your own story and how you are able to stand here today to talk about this and the work that you're doing, how difficult that must have been, whomever was the person who subjected you to that type of pain. As an overcomer, what did you face as a child, and how did it make you feel when you were going through it?
Thank you very much, Michelle, for that word overcomer, because that was what was in my mind to say that I'm an overcomer. But what I experienced as a child, and my first memory of being molested would have been, I could have been about 5. And what it was a very mature gentleman, a senior man in our community, very involved. And every time I went into his store, I remember him taking me to the very back of the store, into this room, and sitting me on his lap. And I had no idea what he was doing, but he would be touching all over me for quite a bit. And at the end of it, he would take his finger in my face and say, "Now, don't you tell nobody, don't tell nobody." And I did not know what was happening. And this happened more than once, but I never told anyone. But it didn't stop there. It continued where in the community, grown men, family members, my experience was always this aggressive hold down and touching force. And so it traumatized me as a child, and it made me feel very ashamed. I felt very ashamed, and I felt as if it was something I was doing. And as a result, I secretly did not like myself. I totally hated myself. I hated the way I looked, because one of the experiences that I had, I remember it was a school picnic, summer school, where you're getting ready to leave for the summer break, and all of the school classes went on the beach. And I had to have been in grade about 3 or 4, but we were in Golden Key Beach. And it was me and two other friends, and we were playing right in the water, holding hands. And this gentleman, a foreigner, was standing off watching us. And he came over and he broke my friend hand and my hand, and he stood between us. And what he did, he proceeded to put his hand into my swimsuit. And so we jumped back. I jumped back. My friend stood staring at me. And again, I went into shame because he didn't do it to them. He did it to me. And so I remember spending the whole day sitting on the beach by myself, feeling very ashamed and wondering why this kept happening to me. And so I grew up feeling very ashamed. I had a great distrust for adults, in particular men. I was not comfortable being around or being alone with men. And two, I had another experience, just you mentioned earlier about the verbal. I was about 10 and I was coming in from a vacation, and these two grown men just stood up and described in great detail how they would have basically raped me. Now I can say that's what it was.
Wow.
And again, I was like, because one of them was saying how he would throw me down and do this, and the next one said, no, you don't kind, you don't throw down, you take them to the room. And I'm standing there and I'm frozen. And I'm saying, why they want to do these things to me? Why they keep talking to me like this? And, you know, and so verbal, and so mentally, psychologically, it affected me. I was terrified. I was afraid. And overcomer is something I overcame as of, I'm 48 last year. At 47, I realized the trauma those experiences had on me. And how I came to understand, because I began to look at my relation to males.
Right.
You know, I always had this thing feeling pressure. And a lot of my interaction with men came from feeling pressure, and that you had to do certain things. And I always wondered, even if I didn't give in, why I had this fight in my mind that I should have, or I'm supposed to. And so I went on a 3-week fast, asking the Father why I needed to deal with this, because I'm tired of this psychological fight. I fight myself, resisting these men, and when I resist, I feel guilty that I did. And he said to me, that goes back to your childhood. You have to take back your power. You don't have to give in to any man. And he said it was because of the way they took you. It was by force. It was almost this aggression, as if, and there was like nothing you could have done, you know? And so that's what I dealt with. And one experience that I had, and speaking about, you mentioned Joyce Myers and forgiveness. And this is one of the things that being molested, and I often say that my experience was not as bad as some that I've heard, like the impact of being raped by your dad. But so I understand the pain they would experience, but the psychological effects of any form of child abuse is lasting. And this is what I think a lot of people don't realize, because when dealing with persons who would have experienced it, they always think, oh, you're old enough now, you should get over it. Oh, you need to put that behind you, right? And some people don't even realize, who, like myself, why they respond to certain situation is what it is. Like for me with my 2 children, I trusted no one with my 2 children. I didn't trust anyone. So I stayed with them. I sacrificed a lot. I went through a lot, but I refused to allow my children to be from around me. I just didn't trust it. I didn't want them to experience anything that I experienced. And so I kept them with me. And my experience a few years ago, I would have met one of the gentlemen that had the verbal conversation concerning me and what he would have done. And when I saw him, I would have been about 40 at times, 41. I was afraid to get out of my car. And I sat in my car for the longest. I was shocked at the fear that I felt when I saw him, because I hadn't seen him in years.
Right.
And I wouldn't get out of my car. And the Holy Spirit said to me, you are no longer a child. You're no longer a child. And I was angry, and I wanted to confront him in an angry way. And the Father was like, don't, just release it And you have to release it, and you have to forgive, not for him, but for you, to free yourself. And over a period of time, every time I saw him, because I had to go where he was, I found that anger, and I had to control it. And about a year or so afterwards, he approached me, said, "Why every time I see you, you act like you're afraid?" I said, "Because I am afraid. I'm afraid." And I told him what he did and how what he used to do when he saw me, how it made me feel. And he was so shocked. He was like, "I didn't realize I was doing that to you. I really always thought that you were such a beautiful." I said, "But I was a child. I was very, very young." I said, "And what you did and the things you used to say to me had me very traumatized." So a lot of people don't realize that these little words and other with children who do not understand what's happening. It is a very traumatizing experience, very traumatizing. And I forgave him, and he asked me to forgive him. And from there on, he and I had, a very cordial, respectful relationship up until the time of his death, because he did die recently. But I was happy that I was able to speak with him about it, and share with him that what he did to me, But one of the things I want to say in this country as regards to child abuse, and you asked a question as to what we can do, even as advocates, I wanted to mention the unity. What we have to do is to understand that we are stronger together. Everybody have their little, and everybody focusing on it, and it's all well and good. But when we look at what is happening in our country, the many, many, many stories that we are now faced with, it is crisis level. And that's only what's coming to the forefront. What about those that we're not hearing about? And so this is not a time that we have to say, okay, you and your little corner and I and mine. We have to come together as a collective. I'm talking about advocates, and join forces to combat what is happening, to really be one voice. And I think when we do that, we will have a greater input, and chances are we may be taken serious, because for years persons have been out there advocating in their own way. But now I believe that we're in crisis. We're in a crisis. Because even just today, we heard of another incident with some man was having sex with a 13-year-old, And so one of the things I want to say is that what you value, you protect. And that is what I believe is lacking in this country, the value of children.
I think Hadassah may be having challenges with her internet connection. One of the things that she said that I think is so powerful that people need to realize, and this whole thing about experiencing trauma in your life, and then the Bahamian way of, oh, just get over it. That happened so long ago. Just let bygones be bygones. You're still being bothered by that. Why don't you just let it go? People don't realize how impactful it can be. Hadassah, you can hear us. You're in the matrix. You're breaking up. Yeah, your internet is giving you challenges, Hadassah. So if you can hear us, go ahead and sign out, and then sign back in, and let's see if we can get you with a more steady flow. But yeah, we don't seem to realize the long-term impact of what we are doing to these children. And the trauma doesn't just disappear because, at one point you decided, okay, I've had enough of this one. That trauma follows them into adulthood. And then when we see people who were broken children become broken adults, and we want to take issue with them because they're not functioning the way they should be functioning as adults, instead of asking people what's wrong with you, we need to find out what happened to them. And a big part of the challenge is that so many of these perpetrators are going without seemingly paying any kind of price or restitution for the damage that they have done. I think it is especially difficult for persons who experience this within a family setting and who are told, Hadassah's back, who are told for the sake of the family reputation, no, you can't tell anybody this, but they're not doing anything to get the traumatized child any kind of help. So you're sending all kinds of messages to that child. Number one, I must not be valued very much because you know this person is doing this to me, but you put their protection over my need for help. And I would think that that would be another form of trauma. One thing with children is they're very, very good at making it all about them. So like Hadassah said, I thought this was my fault. It keeps happening, so maybe I'm at fault here. Go ahead, Hadassah. Finish where you we're going with what you were saying. Make sure you unmute your microphone. Okay.
Yes, thank you again. What you value, you protect. And what the message that has been sent is there's no value. The fact that we are still advocating for certain laws to be implemented, to be amended, says that there's no value. The fact that we can have amongst us in our community what is the media would refer to as known rapists taking a 9-year-old out of her room in Freeport, there's no value. There's no value because how many times do we have to encounter the same situations in our community? And now it's like it's going to the, low, because now we have all these daddies. You know, it's like these people cross over into some utter darkness. And this is what happens when you don't deal with a situation. It's like a cancer, it spreads. And I believe it's because we need to start showing that we value our children. It's enough not just to say it. We need to do something. You understand? We need to start doing, we need to take serious, stringent measures. And with the law and dealing with these perpetrators. No time to play. Because what we seem not to understand is that, like myself, a child, we grow to adults. And they said that abuse hurt people. And that was one of the prayers that I had, even when dealing with my children, because I know I had a lot of emotional situations that I did not hurt my children. You understand? And it's so easy because even in my protection of them, I could have been hurting them because certain places, I didn't want them to go. I didn't want them to be around people. You understand? And so this is far reaching. And we have to we have to do more. We can't do more. And like I agree with Shervonne, this program that Shervonne is pushing should be made mandatory. Because even in our schools, we have the coaches, the teachers, you know, as like open season on children. And it's been going on for too long. And because there is nothing that is put in place to really send a message that, look here, these are our darlings, these are our children. They are going to grow up to be adults. We want them to be whole. We want them to be emotionally, mentally, spiritually, psychologically whole. And so enough of this. You understand me? I think they should be put away. Not just come out and talk about, oh, you a known this and a known that. Stay up and bustle and be known up there. And we all know that our system do not rehabilitate. And so what are we doing? How are we releasing people out to continually do the same thing to someone else? It's like there's a sickness in this country, and the people who are supposed to be the protectors, like they can't see it. And I'm talking about the legislators. But I want the community to become angry. These are your child, my children. I promised the Most High. And this is the reason why I decided my children, because I said, listen to me, they wasn't going to meet. They wasn't going to go to the court. They was not going to go to the court. That was the mindset I had. They were not going to go to the court. I was going to go to the court. But anybody who had touched my children was not going to make it to the court. And that's why I had to stay, because I said, to keep myself from going to jail, let me just stay and walk through whatever I had to walk through. But I was determined that my two children would not experience anything that I experienced. And my daughter's 20. And she said to me, Mommy, you did a good job, because I've never experienced it. Never had nobody pull on me or do anything, because I kept them close. And I taught them. My daughter was 2 years old when her dad went into the bathroom, and when he stepped in, she was in the top. And she said to him, my mommy said, no one is to touch my vagina. And he stepped out and he said to me, what did you say to her? I said, exactly what she just said to you. And she was 2. But that was my mind and how I was instilling in her. And I did the same thing with my son. And so we have got to become more serious about it. I don't think we're serious. After the 5 young boys, and 20 years ago, because my daughter was an infant in my hand when that happened, we should have now had in this country, Michelle, where if someone looked at their child, they were going to be afraid because they know what's going to happen to them. They would have been afraid. And since then to now, look at the amount of cases that we've had in this country. We are not serious, and there's a level of perversion in this country that is scary. It is scary because it continually happens and nothing. And so, thank you. I'm going to stop.
I want to thank you for being sorry, Hadassah. Thank you so much. There's nothing like hearing it from the person who lived through it. You lived through it. So you know what you're talking about. This ain't just theory for you. And I hope that someone out there who is listening to this show, whether you are on the victim side or whether you are a perpetrator, that this information will touch your heart to the degree that you know you have to stop, or that you know you are valued and that you can break free of this. Far too many people in our country right now are broken adults because of the pain that was inflicted on them as children. And it doesn't just go away. And I want you to think, people, about what that means for our society as a whole. Because if we have a society full of broken people, how are we going to ever have a nation that is whole? I want you to think about that. We have to take a break. When we come back, we're going to continue this conversation about the need to protect our children. That and more on the other side. Stay with us.
Your body's immune system is under constant pressure from things like stress, lack of exercise, and toxins in the environment. It's crucial to be proactive and support your immune system with the nutrients it needs to function effectively. But it's often hard to get these nutrients from food alone. Introducing fast-acting Zinc Plus Immune Support by Longevity. Unlike zinc-only supplements, Zinc Plus Immune Support builds on the proven power of zinc and adds complementary nutrients to give your immune system extra support. Vitamin D helps balance the effects of zinc, while our proprietary blend of natural fruit and root extracts provides the extra help your immune system needs to work against daily stressors. And we've included Longevity's exclusive plant-derived minerals to give your body the minerals it needs, but can't get from food alone. And because Zinc Plus Immune Support is delivered in a great-tasting, sugar-free, berry-flavored lozenge, it encourages quicker absorption of all these nutrients into your body. Zinc Plus Immune Support. Zinc plus the extra support your body needs to promote a healthy immune system. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
Welcome to Sunshine Auto, the hardest place on the planet for rims, paints, and tires.
We are your auto superstore for rims, Lexani, Azaras, Trueform, Western, Lux, Fuel, Trackline, Tough, Rough Racing, Velocity, Mud, All-Terrain, and low-profile tires. Cars, homes, and commercial window tinting. At Sunshine Auto, we put God first and customer is king.
Blasted love.
It's gotten harder and harder to get your daily requirement of vital nutrients from food alone. Without additional vitamin and nutrient support, your health and well-being can suffer drastically. That's why Z-Radical was specifically formulated. It combines a blend of antioxidant-rich vitamins, minerals, and botanicals with the protective powers of fucoidan to help fill the gaps from lack of nutrients in your foods. The core of Z-Radical is fucoidan, a naturally occurring polysaccharide that helps stimulate immune reaction, protecting you against inflammation and oxidative stress. We harvest this powerful mineral-rich nutrient from brown seaweed, harvested only from the world's most pristine ocean waters to ensure the purest quality. It's then extracted using cold process technology to ensure maximum levels of bioavailability. Then we add essential vitamins that help to protect your cardiovascular and nervous systems and are crucial for optimal immune and neurological function. Z-Radical also includes a proprietary blend of delicious antioxidant-rich fruits and berries. This great-tasting combination helps your body combat free radical imbalances that can contribute to a variety of degenerative conditions like arthritis and heart disease. Z-Radical. Experience the power of fucoidan with antioxidant-rich berries, 8 essential vitamins, and more to provide you with potent health benefits. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
And we are back. Welcome back to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. Michelle Malcolm in your company. We are streaming live on Facebook on the official Global 99.5 and Michelle Malcolm Facebook pages. You can call us at 3260271, 3260271, 3260272, 3260272, or 8010271. 8010271, which is our WhatsApp line, and you can call us on WhatsApp or you can send us a text message on WhatsApp. Also, you can watch us on Cable Bahamas channel 974. We are talking today about the need to protect our children from all forms of abuse, and my guests today are Mrs. Patrice Hanna Carey, Hadassah Johnson, and Shervonne Hollis. We are hoping that this show today will be a wake-up call for all of us, because I think many people in this country are living in a bubble or in a fantasy world, and they may think, well, this only affects a certain class of people. When truth be told, this is no respecter of class, color, wealth status. This is happening from the highest in society to the very lowest. And this is something that we have to take control of if we expect our nation to be able to continue to grow. And the thing is, we are seeing more and more cases come to the fore. But if that's what you're seeing come to the fore, then multiply that by what? 10 times, 20 times, 30 times to find out how much is actually happening that is not being reported. Now we know we have a problem, because what is being reported is only a fraction of what is actually happening out there. I want you to think about this. And we're seeing it more and more being reported now. But because of what Hadassah described as this culture of darkness, I dare say that as much as we're seeing more and more being reported, there's probably an increase of the numbers that are not being reported as well. So we have to talk about the warning signs. Mm-hmm. What are some of the warning signs that, in some cases this is happening to children, and because they've been threatened by the perpetrator, they're not telling anybody. They're just keeping it to themselves. But yet, if you pay close enough attention, mm-hmm. you'll be able to realize something is off here. So what are some of the warning signs that we need to be looking out for? to help give voice to a child who may be too afraid to speak out or may not even understand what it is to speak out, because in some cases the abuse is all they know. They think that's normal. How do we help these children? Anybody can jump in.
Well, definitely, Hadassah.
If I can say one quote that I love so dearly, it's from former President Nelson Mandela. It says, the true character of a city is revealed in how it treats its children. You asked a very good question. What are the warning signs? Well, a lot of the warning signs may not be visible to the human eye. And a lot of times I think because persons are not trained, that's why the training is so crucial, and it does not substitute for professional guidance or professional help. I want to be clear. However, being aware as an adult, being educated and trained in darkness to light thoughts of children, there's a lot that you can learn. Some of the signs that we were told and trained are promiscuity, having several sexual partners, feel like, you know, their self-worth is low. So they feel that just, having sexual partners, and that goes for male and female. Some of it could be all of a sudden having low grades, competitiveness in school, bullying, alcoholism, drugs. It's many, many different factors. Not saying that is the be all and all reason why a person may do or turn to those things. But like I said, just education and awareness of where it could stem from. And the program is so good that, it teaches you. It even, you even experience, like Hadassah said, as an overcomer, you're listening to persons who would have turned to alcohol, who would have became promiscuous due to, their childhood experience of child sexual abuse. It could be bullying. It could be violence. Children just, being violent towards others. It's many different ways that people who experience some level of trauma or who may have expresses themselves. And Hadassah have said something that's very important. We in this country have to stop what I think is a serious issue, Michelle, is that we tend to re-traumatize persons. We have this habit of victim blaming. Or you shouldn't have wear that short dress, or you shouldn't have gone here, or you shouldn't have, and we blame the children as well. When kids are missing, what hurts me so dearly, and many of the partners are persons who saying, oh, she with a boyfriend, she just want to have sex. The other day with the young lady with the case from the home, we are not getting it. We are just, just casting our own aspersions. We are not getting and asking the question, why would a child run away from home? Have we spoken to the child? What may have caused the child to feel unsafe at home or in the home? It's just so much questions and very little to no answer. And you further traumatize like you say, the victim in some cases who are currently going through it. And re-traumatizing a child in a home by telling us, and I used to hear it when I'm young, children are to be seen, not to be heard. Well, with this training, we reprogramming the minds of adults. Children are to be heard, because how would you know if a child trying to tell you that the father is molesting them, or in some cases the mother is molesting them, because boys and girls can be molested or experience rape, incest, and so on and so forth. So I feel that we just need to have a day, like how we have a day of prayer. We need a day of prayer and supplication for a change mindset in the country. And I really strongly would love to see the Bahamas in coming years where everybody is alert and looking out, whether it's your babysitter, whether it's the teacher, the guardian, the parents, no longer are the boogeyman, the man in the trench coat, the strange person coming at the door. Don't open the door for strangers. Well, guess what, Bahamas? The boogeyman is inside of your house, inside of your bed. The protector, the law enforcement officer could be the boogeyman. So we have to change our approach. We have to change our approach to this whole situation. It's serious. If it's not a crisis, then what is it? What will it take for us to admit that it is a crisis? And I'm going to use the terminology. Code red, leaders of this country. Code red, Bahamians, parents, guardian, code red. We are at code red. How much news report do we have to hear? How many times we as advocates have to be on platforms as such and come out and speak on this topic? Yes, we feel it. We are humans as well. We feel that our words sometimes are just falling on deaf ear. How many times? It's too much. Too much.
Any of the other ladies want to jump in?
Okay, just to add to what Hollis was saying there, many of them, I witnessed this personally. Many of the indications of abuse would be, some of them is withdrawal. You would notice that the child, and it doesn't have to be a child with a very outgoing personality, but all of a sudden they become more introvert. They withdraw from playing, acting, interacting with their fellow children. They also, one of the things we can look for is body differentials. The child body was shaped just a couple of months ago as a child, and in terms of parameters and specifications. And then when we look again, we have to look twice. We don't know if we're looking at a full-grown adult or if that's the same child. Another thing is, of course, the attitude and behaviors, the weapon carrying. I dare say, even with that young lady being in the bar that I had mentioned earlier, the drinking, the looking for substance, looking for just seeking out comfort. In our society, we tend to acknowledge and note adult issues. So we'll say, oh, the adults have stress in life. They have depression, PTSDs. They deal with various issues. But in particular, no one acknowledged that our children are dealing with the very same issues as we are. If they're in our homes, when mommy or daddy can't pay the rent, they feel that. They're listening. Whether we acknowledge them as being there or not, they are there. They feel our energy, as it was. Okay. When there's stress that happens from any avenue, a child absorbs that. They feel that. So one of our first key things we have to do is to be able to know that what is impacting us as adults is impacting our children as well. At the Hanna Carey Cares Foundation, we address, which in particular, yes, we're speaking to sexual abuse, but abuse is so widespread. It is not only what you see, and that's maybe where our Bahamian people are a bit lacking, because they want to maybe to just note the cases where there is sexual abuse happening. But there's physical, mental, emotional abuse happening all the time that is leading and stemming great deeds of misbehavior amongst our youths. And so, we have so many issues going on. Adults say, okay, our children have a routine. There's the routine, they have the school, etc. And we assume because they have this routine, we're not so cognizant of how the national issues have berated and let down our kids. So right now on the ground where I am, I have a 10-year-old child that I would have witnessed sitting on a step. I think she's a foreign, well, not think, I just didn't want to be so specific, but definitely a foreign national, sitting on her porch, not in school, and 10, and the child, I could look through it and I could see this child was being molested. Currently now, and I want to say all of these cases I've actually called in, reported, I've tracked them, I've sent people to the actual home, social services in the person's responsible. So it's just private is where I use discretion, but I send people in. There's cases where adults, parents, many of them mature females, mothers, can't pay or facilitate their rent or their expenses, and so they sell off their young daughters. Okay? There are cases where there's no food inside the home. Speaking more than sexual abuse, it just is what it is, and so you can't come home to look for nothing to eat. You got to go on the streets and find yourself something to eat, because the parents out there hustling the same way. There are also notable issues here on the ground where I'm at, where by the time as an individual is 30, they're already a grandparent.
Wow.
Whether we would like to face it or not in our society. So there are many, many things, not to take away from our sexual abuse platform, but the abuse altogether surrounding our children, Michelle, is very great. And so we have to be leaders in our society, and we need the general populace to come on board with this and see it as more as if someone more than when a child is just being physically raped. See it more than just we had baby Bella, and baby Bella was crying out for help. Neighbors and persons identified this child was in need of assistance, and they kept quiet until she was dead. Mm-hmm. We cannot any longer be that silent society. Hadassah said it. I've had counseling sessions where I've had people say it to me, and they're pulling at their hair and they're saying, listen, I have childhood trauma. Hurt people. And so they're leaving their kids. I have stories days without end. I know it. I'm on the ground. I know what I'm saying to you, my Bahamian people, my colleagues, Dara, Michelle, Malcolm. We need to get in here. We need to get into the homes. We got to get into their minds, regardless, whether that be through their advertisement, where, we sometimes just what we see. We ain't willing to hear anything, but we'll see it. Whether that be advertisements, whether we got to get into the parties, whether we got to get into the infomercials, whatever we need to do, we have to get our populace educated on what they can do to help and to stem, to curb a lot of these negativities that our society has put out that is causing us to, instead of go forward, we are now retracting as a society, and where we should have been 10 years ago, we are now 10 plus years back. And so I just want us to be cognizant of that. Hadassah, sorry, I heard you mention that, and so I want to let you know, of course, I'm here like I am for others, and we thank God that you are an overcomer.
Hadassah, your mic is muted. Your mic is muted, Hadassah. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. I wanted to, just piggyback on what they're saying about what to look for. Because personality change. So many times they say, well, she just acting out and all she did. If you know your child, and I'm talking to parents now, you know the personality of your child being pleasant and loving and all this, and all of a sudden now she cantankerous, or she withdrawn, or she's sharp and she angry. That's a sign for you to take a moment and zoom in. Why all of a sudden you behaving like this? If she acting a little fresh, all of a sudden, why is she acting fresh? A lot of these children are being exposed. Who exposing your child? Then the deputies, whatever, a year or so ago said that the children are being over-sexualized. I said on Facebook, because the parents over-sexualized. Who exposing the children? How are the children being exposed to so much sexual activity?
Yeah.
Because the parents are over-sexualized, because for some reason that it seems to be the topic of conversation. And in the house, I know of a 10-year-old. At the time she was 10, She's now 19, and I think by now she would have had a baby. But she said at 10, she wanted to experience sex because there was so much talk in her house about sex. So at 10 years old, she decided to experience sex, and some perverted, twisted person decided to give her that experience. You understand? And so our children are being exposed in the home.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? And making them vulnerable out there. And so parents have to zoom in, come on, focus. Your child, you know your child better than anybody else, at least you should. If you notice some things in your child, why all of a sudden you weren't like this? Come, let's talk. Or you understand? Fine. And the counseling, encourage your child. Take your child to get counseling. Don't act as if it's not important, or they're supposed to just grow out of it and stuff. They need therapy. Children, they need to talk about these things. They need to talk about it. And so that was even in the schools. Yes.
Yeah. There may be a case, and a part of the problem is even parents who are well-intentioned are oftentimes overwhelmed with so many other responsibilities in this modern day life that we live, that they're not paying close enough to the child because they're too busy running around doing everything else. And so they miss signs. And this is especially important for parents of very, very young children who may not be able to verbalize, because of how young they are, what they are experiencing. But they too can still give you signs that something is wrong. So if you have a young child that you, for instance, have to turn over to a caretaker, and every time that caretaker comes around, or that child sees that child bursts out crying, the child may not be able to verbalize, but I could tell you something ain't right. And it's not a matter of, well, the child just saying get used to the person. Because initially, there may be some separation anxiety. But if you got weeks go by, months go by, and every time this child sees this person, they still, now you know something ain't right. Something is not right. But some parents are so caught up and so busy that they don't have time to pay attention to these little signs that their children may be giving them. And so, what I was watching this documentary about the way children react who are abused compared to those who are not being abused. And they had this video taping going on to show how children react to those around them, comparing those that are abused and those who are not. And so the children who were not being abused, they brought in some toys and, little blocks or whatever, and they put them in front of the children. And those children just dove in, and they were playing, and they were caught up in their own little world, playing with the toys that had been presented to them. Perfectly normal. And then they did the same experiment with children who were in homes that they were either being abused or neglected. And instead of paying attention to these toys and playing with the toys, the entire time, those children, they may have had their hands on the toys, but the entire time they were looking around the room, just watching all of the adults in the room, just watching, like they could not engage in play because they had this anxiety about them as young as they were. And they never played with those toys. The entire time during this experiment, all they did was just watch everybody in the room. It was amazing to see. And so even as young as those children were, they were able to communicate in their way that there is something not right in their environment. And I think that as a collective, we need to do a better job of identifying when something is not right in these children's lives, because sometimes they are just not able to verbalize it, whether it's because they're too young or for any other reason. Go ahead, Patrice.
Well, Michelle, listening to what you said just now helps me or makes me reflect back on an incident that the nation would have faced in the month of February. And there was a post that went out with a adult, and the adult was saying she came across this young girl who's being molested. And the young girl said that she reached out to her mom many times, and no, the mom doesn't want to do anything about it. And this young lady that did the recording, she said, "But I'm going to get to the bottom of this." And she was to the point where she was using profanity. And so it went viral. And when it went viral, I was one of the individuals that called into police as well to ask them to investigate to see if this was a valid story or not. I didn't realize that the story was closer to me than I had even noted, because like I said, it was based on a viral video. When I found out the situation was a very real situation, I then proceeded to push to have all measures taken to rescue the young adult. And not knowing that the mother was someone that was in this very office a few days. In fact, the day before that viral video went out, I was speaking with the mother, who was bragging to me about her child, this very same child. And she was telling me about the child have a condition and the things that we can do to help the child. It was a physical, a mental illness, a medical condition. And so afterwards now, and I'm bringing this up for purpose, after we would have found out that this story is really a real story, they're still trying to get to the bottom of all the gist of it. So that's not what I want to speak about, but the actual story itself about this child crying out and saying she was molested. The child was saying that the uncle was making her suck his penis and ejaculating in her mouth. I hope I'm not being too graphic for my public.
Listen, we need you to be graphic because people need to get out of the fantasy world in which they live and face the reality which is happening in our country. It is what it is.
It is what it is. That's the truth about it. And then what happened is this child, so the mom, I get in office and the secretary says to me that this mother was trying to contact me. She had some news she want to break to me, and come to find out she's the exact mother who's now coming to me to cry for help, for assistance. But this is the mother also who I'm pushing to like have this dealt with, because how could you not know that your child was in this situation? And so the mom says that she's in a position of compromise where she does not have any place to go. And so there are many of them in this household. And apparently, like I said, this apparent person is an uncle. And this uncle was, I guess, recently out of prison not too long ago, and he doesn't have any place to go. And so the children, everyone end up in this really, really vulnerable position. And the mom says to me that I always question my children. I know that she is home from school because of her medical condition. And I say to her, has anyone touched you? And she would say no. And she would always say no to me. Now she has been taken. They took my other daughters out of the home. My children are crying because they're away from me, and it's trauma on every side. I bring this up to say society doesn't realize it, but sometimes it's not all of them, but even one individual in that home or in that wherever it is in that space is targeted. And everyone else feels the impact of that, and then the society becomes even more broken. The basis of this is, yes, education, being on one page in our platform, being able to identify where we lapse and where we can go in and bring assistance. But there is much healing that has to be done in our nation, and that's from an economic and social stance as well. So people don't find themselves, I guess they don't put themselves in this situation. I had a woman in my office just today. She came in. I asked the secretary called, say she have someone out there for me. I said, what's it in reference to? She said, a young lady says personal. She get in here. She's living in her car. I'm like, with her kids, and the kids out in the car now. This is school day. Her and the kids out in the car today. And I tell God, I don't know what he can do. I don't even know how to do it because I have people all around me that I'm helping right here where I am. I am so needed. But then you have people from everywhere that need it so much too. It's so weird. So all I could do is do my best. I directed her to some individuals. I gave her some funding. I gave her my number. I told her, please keep me abreast. I do not want her, because I don't want her in a mental space where she begins to lose it all, or there comes to some compromise with her children, because I understand her plight. I haven't been there, no, but I understand it. I feel it as a woman, as a mother. I understand her. And so her and her children sleeping in the car. There is so much, yet too much going on in our nation. And the blind eye, Shervonne say code red, code red. The blind eye, the code red, the red flags, all these things. So we cannot any longer sidetrack and pretend as if we don't see it, we don't know about it. It's very, very real. No matter how much it hurt us, because I'm sure it hurted that mother very much to have the other kids taken out of that home. But I tell her until she can stabilize herself, and I support her. But it has to be proven that she is who she says she is, and it happened the way that she says that it happened. Because if not, I'm not going to condone any behavior that jeopardizes our children. I'm not going to condone anything that is going to hurt or be to the detriment of a child, because if we say that we're trying to make a difference, we got to stand through this difference. If it's us, deal with it. If it's our sister, deal with it. No matter who it is, we have to confront it head on and make certain that it doesn't happen to any child, whether it be close to our home or far away.
Ladies, we have to take a break. I told y'all this was going to be a heavy show today. But it is what it is. Our goal here today is not to sugarcoat anything or to make anybody comfortable. If you're uncomfortable, then I'm doing my job. These ladies are doing their job if you are uncomfortable. The madness needs to stop. We're going to continue on the other side of the break. Stay with us.
At Lee Air, safety is our #1 priority. Flying since 1996, we offer scheduled flights into Fresh Creek and Mangrove Key Andros and Great Harbor Key, Berry Island, twice daily, 7 days a week. Affordable charter services are also available to anywhere in the Bahamas and the Caribbean. Lee Air Charter Services. Call 225-3267, 702-7127, or 322-1317 for reservations.
Understanding your microbiome, also known as your gut ecosystem, can change everything you thought you knew about nutrition, digestion, immunity, and metabolism. Keeping your gut ecosystem healthy and balanced is essential. Ultimate Microbiome by Longevity was specifically formulated to optimize this ecosystem. It provides the advanced support your gut needs through prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic supplementation. Our unique blend of probiotics includes Lactobacillus and Plantarum, healthy bacteria that can help prevent harmful bacteria from taking over your gut. Increasing your gut's population of beneficial bacteria creates a more balanced gut microbiome, which has been shown to aid in weight loss, skin health, sleep, mood, and may even help with seasonal allergies. Ultimate Microbiome also promotes the production of postbiotics. Postbiotics are key to help regulate your gastrointestinal health. To enhance digestion, Digizyme Multi-Enzyme Complex, a blend of 5 specific enzymes, has been added to Ultimate Microbiome. It can help break down food so your body can better absorb nutrients. Plus, we've added our proprietary I-26 Hyperimmune Egg Powder to aid in the elimination of disease-causing gut bacteria and help your body balance its immune response. Ultimate Microbiome, the scientific, proprietary, and holistic approach to gut health that helps optimize your body's entire gut ecosystem. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
For all your building needs, it's Carib Construction and Project Management on Gladstone Road. We build it all. schools, homes, hotels, and more, including structures requiring a Phase 3 electrical contractor. We also provide project management services. The first step towards your dream building begins at Carib Construction and Project Management. Call us at 376-1556 or 341-4466.
One of the things I love about the mailboat is their relationship with Bahamas Air. I can earn travel points on my international freight and redeem them when I fly.
For me, online shopping is easy with Mailboat's U.S. addresses and regular freight delivery to Nassau. Plus, I can always prepay customs and freight, and they always notify me when my package arrives.
Yeah, a lot of people think the Mailboat is just for shipping, but they also offer a safe and secure storage facility at affordable rates, all in a central, convenient location.
We also offer passenger service into Freeport multiple times per week with a seating capacity of over 450 persons. With family movies on large screens, one hot meal included, and on-board lounge for snacks and soft drinks. We're the Mailboat. We're bridging people, products, and places.
Executive Printers is your one-stop shop for all your branding and customization needs. Letterheads, envelopes, business cards, invoices, share and gift certificates, rubber stamps, vouchers, funeral programs, brochures, flyers, banners, and promotional items like mugs, water bottles, mouse pads, and key rings, all with personable service and great quality. No project is too small or too large. For great turnaround and competitive pricing, make an executive decision. Call us at 393-5011.
And we are back. Welcome back to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. If you haven't already done so, like and share the show. We're streaming live on Facebook on the official Global 99.5 FM and Michelle Malcolm pages. You can call in at 3260271, 3260271, 3260272, 3260272. The WhatsApp line for text messages and calls is 801-0271, 801-0271. And alternatively, you can catch us on Cable Bahamas, channel 974, or on YouTube, where we are also streaming live. Hadassah has had to leave, but I want to say thank you to her for coming on the show today to tell her story. And we appreciate you very much, Hadassah, because, you know, one thing I realize in life, and this is a lesson that I learned from the Joyce Meyer story, is that oftentimes when you're going through difficult situations in your life like this, it's unfortunate that it is a part of your life, but you truly become an overcomer when you understand that there can be purpose in pain. And oftentimes you are then able to help others sometime down the road who may be going through the same thing, who may think that they're all alone, that this is only happening to them. There are people who may be contemplating suicide because of the trauma that they have experienced. And you, being the overcomer that you are, may be the one person who can help to pull them out of that. I'm not trying to justify the wrong that is done to you. Don't get me wrong. But even that can be used to help somebody in the future. Because if you can say, I survived this, I overcame this, and if I have the strength to do that, so can you. You could help to pull somebody else out of the darkness. So if you are going through this, I want you to know that you are not alone, and I want you to gain the courage to tell someone. And if they don't believe you, tell someone else. And if they don't believe you, tell someone else. And you keep telling until somebody does something to help you. Because there are people like Shervonne Hollis and Patrice Hanna Carey and Hadassah Johnson and others out there who will listen and believe you and help you to get out of that situation as much as possible. Here are some of the common signs. We've touched on some of them But here are some of the signs that there may be something concerning happening in a child's life. Unexplained changes in behavior or personality, becoming withdrawn, seeming anxious, becoming uncharacteristically aggressive, lacks social skills and has few friends, if any, poor bond or relationships with a parent, knowledge of adult issues, inappropriate for their age. You know, those primary school girls trying to get primary school boys to have sex with them. Yeah, something is not right there. Running away or going missing, always choosing to wear clothes which cover their body. Here's another one, self-harm. If you see a child that is cutting themselves or performing some other act of self-harm, there's something wrong going on in that child's life. Another thing that they could be doing is some children, you know, I watched a show called My 600-Pound Life. Or, you know, they have multiple shows where people have eaten themselves to morbid obesity, where they weigh in 700 and 600 pounds. And more often than not, when they tell their story about what happened to them, why they are in the position they are in, many of them said, I was abused as a child. I was sexually molested as a child. And I decided that maybe if I make myself so unattractive, nobody else would want to hurt me. Nobody else would be attracted to me. So I just kept eating and eating and eating and eating until I got to the point where I weighed 600 pounds and nobody wants me now. These are some of the things that people do in their efforts to try to deal with the trauma. We are living in a nation of so many people who have been traumatized at a young age, who never dealt with the trauma, never got counseling, never had anybody they could talk to. And so now they're lashing out, they're self-harming, they're doing all manner of things that are not conducive to progress. Everybody saw that viral video of that child, the little boy, that was cursing and carrying on with an adult at the fence. I think they said was one of the children's homes, and he, you know, was cursing and saying, you know, all manner of horrible things, and she started to say, God, Jesus loves you, and he said, Jesus don't love me, Jesus don't love me, Jesus don't love me. And some people were looking at this and saying, this little boy rude, this little boy need beating. That ain't rude, that's trauma. Instead of looking at that child and saying, why this child so rude, we need to ask what happened to that little boy to cause him to lash out with such anger.
Michelle, not to cut you, but also it wasn't the I saw the video as well, but I can say that the person was also not properly trained. Okay, that is not the way that you handle that situation.
Right.
And from the time she initiated the conversation and realized that he was prone to those type of outbursts, then sometimes it's time for silence and to give the child, because we don't know, like you mentioned, what is behind it all, what is causing it. It could even be a spur of the moment memory reflex. So this is all psychological. He may have been playing just as normal as they even a minute before.
And something would have triggered him.
And something just would have triggered it off. And so the manner in which she handled it, she not knocking it, but there is much training needed. She should have, or it should have been dealt with in a different way, where at that point she could have stopped and allowed the child to become more reserved, back like a child, and then go back at it, whether it be her or some other professional, and speak to the child and try to, in a discipline and love, discipline with love. And so that are some of the measures where we see the shortfall. So I was one of the persons that saw that, Michelle, and didn't think the child was rude. I thought the child was being taunted based on whatever circumstances place that child in that home. Just for my input.
If I can add to what you both were saying, you are totally correct. A lot of times victims, or we say overcomers, they have what you call a trigger point. Either something said, either something that flashed back in their mind that they see visually. And I saw that video from where I'm at, and I think I may have commented because it was disturbing, persons calling the child rude. When I said, why don't we find out what exactly had triggered that child? It may have been something said by a child, by the adult. And it all goes back to what I was saying. We need training. A lot of these children's home, a lot of these schools, etc., you would be surprised. A lot of and I'm not saying that you don't have persons who are trained, but that is one of the key that is lacking. Training, recognizing the sign, learning the facts. First of all, learning why the child may have been acting up, the male or the female, minimizing the opportunities, talking about it, or even listening, like Patrice would have alluded to, recognizing the sign and acting responsibly. A lot of times, the anger with the anger, that's not helping. Like Patrice said, what if she would have just let him, vent and then find a way, to find out what exactly was the core reason for his outburst. And we got to stop using these terminology. There's power in words. When we say acting up, rude, or disobedient, this, that, we have to be able, especially when we're dealing with these delicate situations and these children, we have to have a change mindset, Michelle. That's what's lacking in our country. We can't keep doing the same thing and looking for different outcome. And that's what's happening for a while. Not saying that some advocates or some government, there's no progress. But we are way behind compared to countries that have taken the bull by the horn and that are making changes. And I speak so delicately about where I stay because I've seen the mindset in this little island that I live that have changed because they're making it mandatory. They don't care who you are. Once you're an adult, you have to take this training. Once you're dealing with children, babysitting, you name it, pastor, preach, police officer, etc., you have to take the training. So it's mandatory. So the mindset shifts. Rather than victim blaming, that's something going back. I saw it in the comment that a lot of people do. They blame the victim.
Yes.
Even the child, the 16-year-old girl the other day, people were blaming her. How do we know who impregnated her? Was she pregnant at 16 or before? It's so much question. Did she feel safe in the home? Why did she choose to run away? It's just so much. And we just, like you say, we just have the blinders on. We are mute. If it's not politics, and no disrespect, if it's not political or the illegal immigration problem, we tend not to care. I had a close relative of mine that was molested the other day. I can't say too much because the case is still ongoing. And that touched me because I know the person would have been overly protective of their child. And the child is a special need child. So what about them? Yes, the baby, but what about the special need child as well? We tend to forget about that sector. What about the children, LGBTQ children who choose to go that route? Every child needs to be protected. Every child. It's not about us. We got to wake up in this country. I am tired.
Shervonne, I want to say something to add to that. Based on what you said, it's so interesting in our society because we are overreaching to take the childhood out of our children's childhood. We're not. It's as if, and it's the truth. We're stealing their youth away from them. Children must be allowed to express themselves as children. One of the versions of the Bible says that foolishness is bound in the heart of a child. And so we take that foolishness, that means silliness, children are, they naturally investigative. They want to see, they want to feel. That's why in many instances you would hear a child say that when they're able to relate to it, I did not even know that was happening to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because they cannot fully identify what is going on at that time. We have to stop saying to our kids, you need to grow up. And then we put them in so many grown-up situations. Whether they have to babysit, they got to be mommy, they got to be daddy. Whether they have to entertain, we go and we leave them to entertain big man, we leave them to entertain big women. Where there's the conversation that we're speaking around our children, and it can be any which way orientated, but let's say sexually orientated, it is not necessary for them to hear. So what we're putting into our youths, inclusive of sexual abuse and violence, is what we're now seeing come out. And all we want to say and what we love to say is, you need to grow up. You need to focus. No, once you're grown up. Our children need to be taught to savor their youth. Be a child. Appreciate your childhood. Love who you are, and every stage of who you are is valued.
Our children need to be heard. They need to be listened to. And too many times, me speaking with, like Michelle said, overcomers of child sexual abuse, they were never believed. They would have spoken up. A lot of them would have spoken up, would have tried to speak to mommy or spoke to mommy and daddy, and they were never believed. We have to believe our children. We have to, like Michelle alluded to, we have to watch the signs and stop forcing affection. These uncles and these pastors and stop forcing your children to hug people. Children show you many signs. If they're uncomfortable, you would know. Mommy, I don't want to go by grandpa. Mommy, not saying, I'm going to be clear, not saying everything alludes to sexual abuse. However, it is a wake-up call. It's time to pay attention. It's time to ask questions. What's wrong, honey? Do you want to talk? Do you feel comfortable on talking? Let them talk. Allow them to talk. Listen. That's what we lack. Listening. Listen to the person. You would learn a lot from children. Just being in a room, watching children, listening, you would learn a lot. So we have a lot of work to do. Michelle, I am so passionate about this. Tell it ain't funny. So is Patrice, so is Hadassah, and the rest of us in Coalition of Child Advocates. We are, because I would love to see, I know it's asking for something that may seem impossible. I would love to see the Bahamas with 0 cases of sexual abuse, 0 cases of neglect, 0 cases of violence against children and crime against children. I would love to see that. Not that it's impossible, but it's going to take a lot of work, and it's going to take all of us who are listening, who's watching. It's going to take all of us to get involved and play our part and be responsible as the adults, not the child, as the adult.
We have a call on the line. Caller, welcome to GPS.
Madam Michelle, I take this long to call. I am touched. And this is real. JT, C. Allen Johnson, Pauper, all of us. I felt so touched to now see that more than me one believe that the family structure is eroded. It make me want to scream for the absence of Dr. Miles Monroe. The family structure is the voice, heartbeat of God. But we believe that politics, gender equality, etc., can replace the traditional family. This is real. Even homicide don't get no more attention. JT, Pauper, we have to say a little more. The family structure needs some attention. And Madam Michelle, you don't like me saying this. Too much effeminate men, too much effeminate pastors, and too much feminist sister. We need to come together and discuss the issues. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you for calling. We have to take a break, but let me just say this. Little girls are being abused. Little boys are being abused. Some of them by people who aren't effeminate. Let me put it that way. I suspect the person who is now spending time in prison for killing baby Bella was not effeminate in any which way. He was just a violent beast. Let's not make everything about gender. Yeah, the family structure is under attack. But what do you do when the person is within the home, within that family that's intact, that is perpetrating these crimes against our children? Marinate on that. Wow, do we even have time to take this break? Yeah, let's take a quick break. We'll be back.
Blood sugar levels play a key role in your appetite, weight gain, and overall health. When you have a blood sugar spike, you can feel confused, dizzy, and even have increased cravings. Eating carbohydrates, sugary or fatty foods, and not exercising can all cause blood sugar spikes. But now you have help in managing blood sugar levels. Sweeties by Youngevity was designed to help support healthy blood sugar levels so you can power through your day. It's a synergistic blend of minerals, herbs, and nutrients that have been proven to support healthy blood sugar levels. Sweeties includes chromium, an essential trace mineral that's known for its contribution to healthy blood sugar levels and improved metabolism of carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. Cinnamon bark has been included for its naturally occurring antioxidants and support of a healthy heart. And we've even added gymnema. It's been used in Ayurveda for centuries to help promote healthy blood sugar. All the ingredients in Sweeties work together to give the best support available for blood sugar control. Sweeties, the blood sugar support supplement from Youngevity that helps control cravings and manage blood sugar levels through your day. To learn more, contact your Youngevity associate.
Welcome to Sunshine Auto, the hardest place on the planet for rims, paints, and tires.
We are your auto superstore for rims, Lexani, Azaras, Trueform, Western, Lux, Fuel, Trackline, Tough, Rough Racing, Velocity, Mud, All-Terrain, and low-profile tires. Cars, homes, and commercial window tinting. At Sunshine Auto, we put God first and customer is king.
Blasted loud.
As you age, factors like health, weight, diet, and lifestyle can all impact your bones, joints, and general mobility. Even everyday exercise can lead to wear and tear on your body. Over time, you might start to experience stiffness or pain due to damaged joints or connective tissue. Ultimate Glucogel by Youngevity was created to help you limit the effects of wear on your joints. It delivers a daily dose of collagen-rich gelatin your body needs for joint elasticity and maintenance. Ultimate Glucogel contains a 1-to-1 ratio of gelatin and glucosamine sulfate, which is a key building block of your bone matrix, cartilage, ligaments, tendons, and connective tissue. Gelatin's unique blend of amino acids not only help with muscle and joint health, but also has been shown to provide additional benefits for the brain, skin, and hair. Ultimate Glucogel. Natural, optimal daily support for joint health. To learn more, contact your Youngevity associate.
Ladies, I want to thank you so much for being a part of the show today. Unfortunately, we only have a minute left, so I can't even give you all a good amount of time. 20 seconds each. Final thoughts. Shervonne.
Well, I would like to say, I would like to see this program, Darkness, the Lights, Thoughts of Children, as a mandatory or a national requirement for all adults in the Bahamas, no matter if you take care of kids or not. What I want to see real quick is more child regulation laws and legislation. Thank you.
Okay. Patrice, 20 seconds.
Collaboration, communication, cooperation. That's where we need to be now. That's what we need to do. I want to commend also Michelle Adderley Maxine Seymour, both senators, keep up the good work.
Thank you, ladies. It's 4:00. Got to get off the air. I appreciate you both.
Thank you,
to
Michelle.
who was with us
Thank you.
earlier.
God bless you, Bahamas.
Listened or called, sent a message. We appreciate it all. Tomorrow's Wellness Wednesday. We'll be back on the air with another show that will help you to become healthier. Until then, I'm Michelle Malcolm. Thanks so much for tuning in. Let's make a difference, y'all. It's about time we put an end to this mess. Take care.